Oh, do I have a treat for you, viewing audience. We have on the show, we have the veterans, the people who fought for us, the people who took risked their lives so that we can be comfortable. We're going to talk about, do we do enough for our veterans? Is 2 days enough to say thank you, or do we need to do more? And if what could we do? I don't think, maybe it's just me, but we all have opinions. I don't think we do enough. You know, when I think about the things that I have privilege to, because they decided to go and fight for our country. But on the show today, I have Tank the nurse. Her name is Tonya Kerrin. And I also have James Moss. I have Leonard Copeland. And I have Barbie Bush on the show. All of them are veterans. And this show is made possible by Linco Realtors. Yeah! Lincolns. I mean, if you really want to buy a house, and if you really are looking to sell your house, you got to call Linco Realtors. They are the best. They are absolutely the best. And you need to push that subscribe button right down there. Don't forget it. Don't forget it. And share this video with veterans and family and friends. And don't forget to push the like. But let's go on with our show. I am going to start and ask each of them, what branch of service did they serve in, and why did they decide to join the military? I think I'll start with Tank over to my left on the screen.
Well, good afternoon. Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for allowing me to be on the show and to be on the show with such great individuals. Thank you all for your service. I joined the Army, and I joined the Army to be an Army nurse. But that never happened, but that's something I can talk about later. That's why I joined. I joined when I was 19.
You joined to be an Army person?
An Army nurse.
An Army nurse. Okay, you joined to be an Army nurse, and you joined the Army. How many years did you serve, Tank?
7 and a half.
7.5?
11.
11.5. Oh, okay. And James Moss, could you tell us what branch of service you were in and how many years you served?
I served in the United States Army for 3 years. I'm a Vietnam War veteran. And also I was a member of the 75th Regiment Ranger in the Vietnam War.
Why did you decide to join the military?
Well, I was undecided when I graduated from high school. I had scholarships to play football. No one in my family ever went to college. And my oldest brother, William, he had been in the Army. And I really looked up to him. And I said, you know, my oldest brother went to the Army. I want to go to the Army. And that's why I joined the Army, to be like my big brother.
Be like your big brother. Oh, wow. And Leonard Copeland, what branch of service did you serve in? And what did you join?
Just like James said, I looked up to my brother. My brother went to the Navy. And so I said, if I join the Navy, I won't have to get out there in Vietnam. And as we talk, I'll explain how I wound up in Vietnam after joining the Navy.
Okay, so the big brothers seem like they have a impact on the little brothers.
Yeah.
Barbie Bush, what branch of service did you serve in, and why did you join the military?
Field artillery, only female in my battalion, Fort Sill, Oklahoma. And I joined because my dad was in the Vietnam War, came home with a really bad injury, and I wanted to make him proud. So I basically followed in his footsteps. Almost everything he did, I did, from mail to everything. I followed what my dad did, I have done. And I was in the military. I joined because I wanted to make my dad proud and everything.
These men have a very impressive impact on our lives, don't they?
Yes.
On the men's life and the women's life. Okay. Yes. So Was it James Moss? Was it everything that you had anticipated it to be when you joined? Was the military everything that you had anticipated to be?
No, not at all.
It wasn't.
When I joined, I never forget at the old post office. I was getting ready to join the Marine Corps because I liked their uniform. Me and my partner. And as we went to the Marine Corps, the guy said, "You don't want to go over there." He said, "They don't make much more money that we make." I said, "What?" He said, "Yeah, you can make $55 extra a month. They don't pay that in the Marine Corps." So I said, "How can we do that?" He said, "Are you scared of height?" I said, "No." He said, "Just jump out of planes." I said, "Me and my partner said, well, we'll jump out of planes." I said, "But I want to be an Air Force mechanic. I mean, aircraft mechanic." He said, "That's easy. We have that position open in Army where you can be an aircraft mechanic." And so when I got to Fort Jackson, the sergeant said, "What's your MOS? It's your military occupation skill." I said, "Me and my partner here, we're going to be aircraft mechanic." He said, "Boy, we ain't got no aircraft mechanics on. You know what 11B4P means?" I said, "No." He said, "That's infantry airborne. That's what you here for. We don't fix airplanes. You're going to jump out some though."
So so you did. It wasn't what you expected, but you
No, it
just
wasn't.
What about you, Leonard? Was it everything that you expected it to be?
Well, there was, when I went in, it was they give you a test, and they said that I did pretty well on the test, and I could with a guaranteed to go to some of their schools. And when I went in there, I said, well, I want to be, I don't mind being an accountant. I don't mind being this and that. I picked out 4 schools that I would like to go to. And they were, dealing with money and business. I was kind of leaning toward business at that time. I guess I was about 18, 19 years old. And they said, well, yeah, okay. After I joined, by the way, they said, well, let's see what we got down here. They said, well, we can't give you any of those 4 because they're all taken up. They're all, filled. But, we can add some more on there. So, because you have a guaranteed school. And we have to do that, So they added on more. They said they never give more than 4. They gave me 12 choices.
Wow.
And the ninth choice, 10 choices. The 9th choice was dental assistant, which I didn't have no problem with that either. And the last choice is, well, let's just stick this last one in, hospital core school. And then they said, we're going to send you to California. Well, I didn't get to California. I got to core school. And after I got in there, they let me know that the guys out there who's chasing around Marines and patching them up came from hospital core school. And I went, what? And so I got messed up right away. And there was a saying that, drifty, they call us drifties when we first joined. And they had a saying said, drifty, drifty, don't feel blue. My recruiter screwed me too. and I wound up in a hospital down at the National Naval Medical Center. That's where the presidents used to come out and get treated. And that was pretty easy duty for a while, but then they send you from there down to Camp Lejeune for training. And so I surmised that while that guy was talking about, well, let's try this school. Nope, it's not open. Let's try that. I think when I left that room, he just threw all my stuff in the trash can and wrote down there hospital core, because they needed some people out there in the field with the Marines. So I didn't want to take up too much time. So I wound up being in the field with the Marines. I got a picture of me in a Marine Corps uniform pointing to my Navy stripes on my arm, because I said most people will never remember that one.
Wow. Wow. Well, Barbie, what about you? Was it everything that you thought it was going to be when you joined?
Absolutely not.
Wow.
I went in for administrative. They told me I was going to work next to commander or, sergeant majors, colonels, in the office, and dress nice and everything. And when I got in there, my girlfriend and I got split up, and they sent me to Germany, or immediately sent me to Germany, and I did 34th Combat Support Hospital. So I knew how to build, lay concrete, lay carpet, build a room, learn about hospital techniques and everything. And then I said, well, I tried to apply while I was in again, and they said, oh, we're gonna send you to Oklahoma and you'll get to be administrative. Got there, I was the only female. They said, oh, we put you down as a male, we're sorry, but since you're here, we can't let you go. So I was in a field artillery unit on Fort Sill, in front of like 2,000 some odd men on a whole base. I was the only female, and I was not happy about it. Yeah.
Why weren't you happy about it?
Because it was hard what I went through, the sexual harassment, the mistreatment. They had to put me in an area where they were calling it to be protected of not being assaulted and raped, but I was the only female, and technically I wasn't supposed to be there because it was an all male facility. And I had to be in the BAQ, nightmares, trying to wake up at night. Someone's always knocking on the door, knocking on the window. You walk past the cafeteria, they're tapping you on your butt, bumping you accidentally. Just the harassment alone. I wanted to do a full 20 years. So that was definitely went out the door.
I'm sorry
Yeah.
that happened to you. Tank, what about you? Was it everything that you thought it was? You said you wanted to be a nurse, and that didn't happen. We can't hear you.
Well, I have to say, like everyone else, can you hear me?
Yeah.
I have to say, like everyone else, yeah, I went in to be an Army nurse, and at 19, and I came out 11 and a half years later, jumping out of helicopters. I became air assault, Desert Storm veteran, tank driver, and I learned a lot. I'm not going to negate that. I ran lab, ran ER, but never got my nursing. So never got to be a nurse, never got to nursing school. I became a combat medic also. Back then we were called 91 Bravo. So not this was in the 80s and 90s. And I loved every minute of what I learned, but never became a medic. Never thought that I would be in a foxhole. As I say, one armpit deep, one M16 by two M16, and driving a tank and doing all those things. So that was just
Well, all of you have, I really appreciate that y'all went in and fought for us and did what you did, even though those recruiters promised you the world and you didn't get what you did, but you did what you had to do, so that people over here can be comfortable and have the things like freedom of speech and the choice of a religion, all the things that we maybe take for granted. It was because of individuals like you who went over there and fought for us. Do we do enough for you? I mean, to me, 2 days is not enough. I mean, that's just my own personal opinion, audience, but 2 days is not enough for the sacrifices that you make. But now that's just me. But what do you think? I mean, because you're the ones that went over there and fought for us. You're the ones that left your family and everything. What do you think? Tonya, do we do enough for you when the public, when you came back? What was it like when you came back?
no, I was trying to sugarcoat it. Even though I was never homeless, I didn't lose any limbs. I don't have any detrimental accidents. Nothing blew up on me. But although all of that could have happened, I was in situations that any of that could have happened. But I came back whole. But when I came back from Desert Storm and even got out of the military, the treatment, the disrespect, caused a lot of depression. Caused, it was detrimental. have a nice place to stay. You do PT, you wear a uniform all the time, so it's not that often that you're in civilian clothes. So, you know, for me, you work all day, you know, I do more before 9 a.m. than most people do all day. By the time 9 a.m., you have done physical training, you have been at the unit, you have been to the mess hall, and you still got a full day of work to go and do the job. And sometimes you got to pull extra guard duty and things of that nature. So to get out in the civilian sector, and for me, I got out and a well-decorated soldier, but my skills weren't worth anything. All I could get offered was $8 an hour job as a home health aide, even though I had went to EMT school, you know, trained, and Leonard may remember, you know, you had to go to combat medical training. You could go into a situation and you can triage soldiers and you can get them out of there and save people's lives. But I got back here and I wasn't worth nothing.
You were a killer.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Oh my
Make you a
gosh.
professional killer.
Oh wow. Wow. Well, and you agree with that? That we don't treat our soldiers right. Leonard, do you agree with that?
To an extent, but I on a positive note, let me first say I think they need to spend more time working on the mental and the when somebody get out of service, do a better job of informing them about the services and benefits that are available to them. I think it's a lot of veterans walking around who just don't know, or they got kind of away from it, you know, and they're feeling like, well, you know, what's the use in going in there? And I try to talk to these, and I like to first take my hat off to James, because James helps many veterans, and some of them probably said, I'm giving up, and he gives them information on how to fight the system to get what you need done.
But you shouldn't have to fight the system. You fought for the system.
Well, yeah, but you know, just a quick sideline. You know, my uncle, I had an uncle who fought in Korea, and he lost a finger and his feet were crooked and real strange, you know, the way they were shaped. And he thought it took him 50 years to get benefits. And he died right after they got that super, see, that's 50 years of back pay now, by the way. After they got that super large check, he died. You see what I'm saying? So they deprived him of all those years of treatment that he either had to suffer when he didn't have money, and then when he could get some treatment, he paid for it out of his pocket. You know, he went over there, he went over to the facility. 50 years ago, that's about the time me and you met, by the way.
Yeah.
But anyway, he went to the facility and they were saying, get your black A out of here. You see what I'm saying? That's the way people could be. I mean, nowadays they might have somebody abrasive or something like that. But you know what I mean? They just can't sit there and talk to you like your dog, because there's some people sitting there that you can report them to or something like that. It's changed in that way. But I just want to say that I probably can't think of anybody who used the benefits more than me. I went to school. I got out of service on a Friday. I was down at Central State on a Monday playing football. I wasn't in no shape, because me getting in shape was getting in there, run one lap around a football field, then head for a drink. You see what I'm saying? And when I got down to Central State, it was a guy named Charlie Hester, told a coach about me. I went down there and I knew in order to make the team, I was behind the 8 ball, you know, everybody else out there in shape, going through the training. So I went out on the field and started a couple fights, and they thought I was crazy. I'm not even a violent guy. And the coach, Big Jim Walker, he was kind of a different guy too. He told us, he said, you got any more friends like that in Cincinnati? We need guys like him. You got any more in Cincinnati? Anyway, but the point is I made the traveling squad, and I guess, which was amazing, because they went down to Maryland about 10 days from then. And I had some good years, but until my grades kicked in, because like I said, I was mature. I went to the service and I was a boy. I came out a man. So after we went out and had time and partied and did that, by the way, I went to Central State University in Ohio. So by the time we got through running around and having a good time, everybody else getting to bed and be staying in the bed and skipping classes the next day. I got up and I got up at 4 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the morning, studied, and then went to class. And they be said, man, I couldn't get out of bed. But that's where the discipline it put in me in the service, made me a man. And then I got a check every month from the Uncle Sam. But it wasn't like in the past years from the Korean War and World War II. Back then, they would pay all your stuff for you. I had to take my money and then pay what was left. So I came close. I did all right that way. And so I worked pretty hard, got great grades, got a fellowship to come up to Ohio State where I met you. See what I mean? So I owe those types of things because, but it's a lot of times there are opportunities that people don't take the advantage of. I had nobody to tell me anything, like I said, except my brother. He's got a master's degree like I have. However, in the household, there were nothing but strong women. I had strong women who, man, what some grades look like. And they would be on my case. And I was able to be the first person in my family to get a college degree. And then I came up to Ohio State, like I said, where I met you. And I had a little bit money still left over from my, from the military to go along with what I was getting from my fellowship. And so then after I got, I got married, I graduated on a Friday, and 8 days later, I was walking down the aisle. Matter of fact, James's wife was our maid of honor. See how small the world is?
Yeah.
Boy, it's just, I just feel so good. But anyway, and then I got an MBA from Ohio State, 1974. So I had a business acumen, and I got into real estate. And the guarantee that they give veterans, if you use that, and right now, I mean, a person may not want to spend that much, but that guarantee has been adjusted and grown over the years to where it's $650,000. They will let you get a $650,000 house for no money down. So Cheryl and I, my wife Cheryl, who's a retired school teacher, we use that 4 or 5 times, because I knew the value of real estate and the growth and, how it could be, I got an ad that you saw that looks like a piggy bank. It says, make your home your piggy bank and you pull some money out of it when you need it. But a lot of people don't understand those dynamics. So that part I try to use as much as I could, and I think I was successful in that. It helped me in my business career, but I don't want to take too much time.
I'm gonna ask James and then Barbie. Do we do enough for our military, our veterans? When you come back home, how do we treat you?
I came back from the war in at Oakland, called Treasure Island. I don't think it's active. And when the plane land, they took me in, and all the Vietnam vets, they would fix you a steak dinner. It was about 2 o'clock in the morning. While I was eating, they had your new uniform ready for you, put me on a ticket flight and sent me home for 30 days. But when I got out of the military, I was stationed at Fort Hayes when I came from Vietnam because of my father was very ill, and I asked to be close to my father. So I was stationed at Fort Hayes. I was working as Army recruiter. Not an Army recruiter induction center. Then I started being an advisor for the United States Army Reserve. I was going to make a career out of the military, but I was an E5 sergeant, and all the rest of the sergeants was E6 staff, sergeant majors, and they told me not to re-up. And I said, why not? They said, what's going to happen to you? They called me Little Buck because I was a buck sergeant. That's just 3 stripes. They said, you're going to come home for 30 days, and they're going to send you back to Nam. Some of those guys had 9 tours already of Vietnam. They come
Wow.
home for 30 days and go back. They said, this is not the time to re-up, and especially you being a ranger. He said, you know, it's not a good idea. So I got out, and there was no one there to tell me about, you know, the PTSD that I was going through. Uh, there was no mental adjustment. I remember I was on Mark Vernon Avenue going to Swan Cleaners, and a car backfired, and I yelled, I got on the ground, said incoming, started yelling, incoming, incoming. And people looking at me like I was crazy, but that's my reaction, thinking a motor round or something was coming in, you know, because I still was that on edge. And a friend of mine, we went in the service together, Arthur Wells, he committed suicide. He was a ranger too. And he committed suicide. And that really disturbed me because we didn't have mental health to get adjustments. And like I told Leonard, I didn't, you know, I filed a claim in 2001, and I'm still fighting some parts of that claim. And really, the mental part of it is that you cannot, it's like a glass half full. Your brain doesn't erase that. All the combat that I've been in and the scrimmages, you'll have recalls of that all the time. Certain things we call triggers will make you go through that combat experience over and over again. So, you know, the medication, it took a long time for them to come up with the medication to try to help you with that, but it doesn't stop. I met a World War II veteran. He said, Sergeant Moss, he says, you would take the war to your grave. He said, I'm a World War II veteran, and I still have flashbacks from the combat from World War II. He says, there's nothing, the dreams, he said, you can go away a little bit, but still there because it's registered in your brain. And they don't do enough to readjust. It's like my two sisters there, we all went in for a different purpose. When you come back out, they don't really give you a time to adjust to, you know, here I am trained to kill, but actually I was behind the enemy lines, planting sensor devices and all like this. I wanted to go, you know, I wasn't trained. That's all I knew. I didn't have no skill. I couldn't get a job saying I'm a ranger. I can go behind enemy lines and stuff. You know, I didn't, right. I didn't have no skills that I could get a decent job.
Barbie, I see it. I know you don't have very much time because you have to pick up the children, but do we do enough for you? What's your opinion about that? Do we do enough for our vets? And when you come back, how did you feel when you came back?
I was lost when I came back. Not, I tried to get a job right away. Same thing, field artillery. People looking at you, field artillery, and I had went to a weapons store. I won't say the name, but and the man told me to do myself a favor and do not try to apply for that, you know, because he said there'll never be a Black person owning a gun shop. And he said, you'll be wasting your time. He said he meant no disrespect by it, but he was just nicely letting me know that that is something that's just not going to happen. And I looked around a lot of places and to try to figure out, and a lot of places did not have the owners of wanting a weapons street because that's all I knew. I did try to get into like laying concrete a little bit. I did do that just for a little bit, but mentally wise, you know, I had children, got married. I still didn't know how to channel my temper because I kept it boggled in on the inside. And no, they don't do enough for veterans for the simple fact that this world continues to go on. And while these people here are living their lives, a lot of them don't know and understand about the military life and what you do. And because they do not put that out there in the forefront,
Yeah.
It's just another, okay, you went to the military. It's just like another job. Okay. Okay. What's the big deal? You went to the military. Okay. Nice. Good for you. So no, you can't really get mad about something that they don't understand about because they don't put enough out there to explain what we endure, what we go through, the good, the bad, the ugly. And until they do, I don't believe, because I'm military. I believe in being militant and structure. That's what I'm used to. I still to this day live by it. And when I just think a lot of people take advantage. I wish they'd bring back the draft, so a lot of these people, kids can understand. They have no concept.
Yeah.
No concept.
Yeah, you do structure. I saw my baby brother that was so spoiled when he went into the military, but when he came back, oh my gosh, he was a totally different person.
Yeah.
Structure. But what we do? I mean, in an ideal world, if you came back, what would we do to make that transition a little easier for you? Barbie, I know I'm gonna ask you first.
Well, welcome the soldiers back, contact their families, let them meet them at the airport, greet them, someone greet them and give them the information about if they need counseling, psychiatric help, or let them know that they can go to the VA. I didn't know I could go to the VA all these years. I just recently started going. No, I didn't know. I did not know. I had no clue that I still had benefits and entitlement. A civilian lady told me that, an old lady from her husband, and I was at a vintage store, and they pulled out a paper and said, these are some stores that honor 10%, 15%. And so now I have to ask people, do you do VA? Do you do discount? Do you do discount? Some people say, oh no, we don't do that.
Amen.
They do
Amen.
it, So yes.
Yeah.
So that would be, yes, so they need to get more information out to you and help you with the transition, and also help the families. Is that what you're saying for the family?
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't know that I mean, I knew you went over there and fought, but I didn't know that all those things, the transition was difficult. We'd be happy to see you, but we didn't know what you had really gone through.
Yes, I want to say that I felt the same way when I went to my Ranger reunions. They would say, Moss, you need to fill out this paper. I said, I don't want to fill out that paperwork. So I come home and I saw how thick that paperwork was. I did a little bit and I threw it down, and I didn't return maybe for 2 years later. And then I found out how difficult it was. They would send it back. You forgot to put this in, and I almost said, bump it, but I kept on. So I think one thing that just should happen is that I think once you get out, you should be assigned a social worker. I have a social worker now, but because of my disability, but each soldier should have a social worker, and that social worker should help that veteran fill out his claims. We have we call a vet center here in Georgia for people suffering from PTSD. We meet once a week with a psychiatrist, and we have a team. So those are things that people don't know about, but I think everybody, I don't care where you 50% or no percent, each veteran should be assigned to a social worker to help them fill out their claims, help them with their family problems, their finance problems. I get a lot of help, things I didn't know about until I was only Black Ranger at my Ranger reunion because of the racism. And I went to find out information from the white guys, and I take it back and bring it to Leonard and other people that I know. Hey man, they're doing this, they're doing that, because they would tell me what they were doing.
That's right.
We don't have that. We don't have that connection, and I think it's a shame that the VA, they got the money to have more vet centers. They got enough money to sign a social worker to help you. I don't want to be too long, but with my health problems now, I'm getting ready to have a medical procedure, and it's an hour and a half to the VA hospital. Well, they have a program called Community Health. I got a hospital less than 5 miles from my house. So I call the community health. I don't have to go to VA. I'm going to the hospital that's 5 miles from my house, and VA is paying for everything. So these are type of things that a lot of veterans don't know they can do, you know. So we got to share that information, and I didn't help so many veterans get 100% and help them. You know, I help any way. I fill out the forms for them. I walk them through it, tell them what to do, what to expect, and it's, you know, we got to have a community like that, but we definitely need more social workers assigned to veterans.
So to have more social workers and help you with those forms so that you can.
Right, the forms are very, the forms,
That's some of the benefits that you fought for.
yeah,
It's not like people are giving it to you. You work
right,
for that.
work
You
for 'em,
for
yeah,
it.
yeah.
Yes, yes, yes. What was what benefits? I mean, you were James. You suffered
Was
from
it,
Agent Orange. Agent
yes, I'm a
Orange, and
victim
you
of
still
Agent.
fight.
Yes, Agent Orange is the most poisonous pesticide in the world,
Uh-huh.
and everybody in my unit, most of them are dead from Agent Orange or affecting Agent Orange. Agent Orange can stay in your body for 50 years. I first developed bladder cancer, and then 2000 last year, I had 5 major surgeries. Got half my liver was removed, my bowel duct, my gallbladder. I had 2 large tumors, and all caused by Agent Orange. And I'm still fighting the VA because they denied me my bladder cancer, and what Congress said bladder cancer was part of Agent Orange. And the problems I have now, all my doctors, every last one specialist said this is a result of Agent Orange. I never smoked, I never drank. And Leonard can tell you, you know, I completed, when I was in Columbus, the marathon run. So I was in good shape, but then all of a sudden, all these, the Agent Orange hit me. And then, you know, so that's something that is just ridiculous that I've been fighting for my disability for Agent Orange.
Yeah, I know quite a few people that had it, and they're still fighting, and that should never have happened either. So I'm sorry that that's going on in your life, but you know, hopefully we can that this broadcast and more awareness about it will be able to help you so that you can get what you fought for, not what we're giving you, what you have already. There's nobody giving you anything because you already have fought for it, spent your time and everything to do it. Yeah, Leonard, you want to say something?
I just want to add that, you know, we're in our 70s. So if we can pave the path, or, you know, and that's why I appreciate James so much, you know, because he's so giving as far as getting out there doing things. And if we could send a message to some of the people who's going to see this interview, who are not affiliated or know nothing about the military, to keep on fighting for these benefits, because it's easy to just look at the surface type things. But like James said, nobody knows what's happening with him as he walks down the street in his uniform to go to a reunion or stuff. You know, I've got diabetes, which they classify as Agent Orange diabetes. And I'm saying I never know what's going to be happening the next month. I live over at the VA, but I got a lot of little twerks that I learned to live with. And like I tell people, you know, after I come from over there, I got nothing to complain about, because I see people over there in some serious trouble. And you know, and like I said, I don't want to keep talking like I'm in the James Moss fan club, which I am, by the way.
Because
which I am, by the way. But I just,
he has stepped up to plate on many issues.
I just appreciate how I can give him a call anytime.
Hey, I'm a James Moss fan too.
Anytime. And I always feel good if I could tell him anything, because he's always telling me everything.
Thank you,
and he's got the scoop. I feel great when I learn something. I
Yeah.
be calling him up. Ooh, ooh, ooh.
Yeah,
Did you
yeah,
know?
yeah,
You know what I
yeah,
mean? But
yeah.
I'm
I
just saying, if we could,
understand. I
you know,
understand.
like for example, I heard that I got through the grapevine that Sherrod Brown, he's on one of those armed forces committees, and he's strong. Somebody called up, they called him up one time and told him about being mistreated at the VA, and I think somebody lost their job that day.
Wow. Wow.
So I'm
we
thinking
got-
about what James said. I think I'm going to write a letter and say, hey, we got to put some extra money in there for some counseling. You know,
Yeah.
I was a little blessed because I've had a good adjustment
Mhm.
because I didn't come right home. You know, I had to recuperate from wounds. And so I was in Japan for a couple months, and I was having a good time after my wounds came together. So when I came home, I was pretty well adjusted to go to college. And like I said, I was a 23-year-old freshman, and you know, I couldn't get a girlfriend because everybody would say, "Oh, you too old." You know what I mean? until my
Hey, you met
senior
the
year.
right one. Hey, you met Cheryl.
Yeah, my senior year, she paid attention to me, you know, and the Lord sent her my way, and I had sense enough to grab her and hold on, you know, and the rest is history. But I'm making light of it though. But I have not the type of person just be sitting around having a pity party. You know, but I've been through that. You know, I know there's some things that could be done better, and that's what we got to concentrate on, spreading the word. Just like this interview, I'm going to tell as many people as I can to look at this and subscribe, because we got to stay on top of getting the word out. You know, and that's why we fail sometimes due to lack of information.
Yeah. Barbie, what would you think that they talked about social workers? Anything else you want to add? Then I want Tank to talk about this book that she has coming up. But Barbie, what other things could be helpful to our veterans that we could do?
Other than the counseling and the recruiters, when they're recruiting these young soldiers, educate them, talk to them. Just don't tell them what they want to hear, because you need to get points to get us into the military. Be upfront, be honest, let them know what to expect, what not to expect. Ask them, is this a career, or are you just doing it just to get away from home? Do you have problems when you're going in? Find out what's going on with the person and notate that. So as they go in, they know something about the person as they transgress from, be it here or Germany or wherever they're going, and it's a paper trail, you know, and talk to them while they're in the service, and when they're heading out, don't just leave the soldier. Stay in close proximity with them, and then and have a, you know, you don't have to be in my house, I don't have to be in yours, but contact me, make sure, check on me. It's just a phone call. How you doing? Everything okay? Do you need anything? My doctor does that. My new doctor at the VA, she's phenomenal. I can't say enough about her. Thanks to her, I'm learning more things that I didn't even know I was entitled to. No knowledge. You know, lack of knowledge. They say because you don't ask, but you don't know how to ask the question if you don't know the right question to ask.
That's right.
So you have to know the question
more
to
information
ask.
about what's available for you. Is what
Exactly.
you're saying.
Put out pamphlets.
Yeah, you don't want
put something
to go
online
like on
for us to read.
Scavenger hunt, trying to find out what's going on and what kind of benefits you need. You know that you're entitled to. That you, I'm gonna repeat it again, that you work for. It's not a handout. Y'all work for. Tonya, Tank, you have a coming out. Could you tell us a little bit about your book? We can't hear you.
You talk.
Keep talking. We can't hear you. Okay. Could you tell us about your book?
You talking about me?
No, I was talking. I'm gonna ask you too, but I was trying to get Tonya.
Okay.
Yes, it's called Thank You for Your Service. And it actually comes out of where I recently had an illness that almost took my life, and still fighting for benefits, So I do need to contact James and be part of this fan club because I get it done and you know, one thing I wanted to say about the benefits before I say something else. Like you said, it's what we do. 11 years in the military.
We have some problems with the sound, but while we're trying to fix that, is she back? Okay, the sound is not that good right now. What? So you said that you have a book out that's called "Thank You for Your Service."
Yes, thank you for your service. And it's written it's a female soldier's journey through Desert Storm. And I wrote it because the treatment that I received when I was ill and how people would treat you bad and then say thank you for your service, and they don't have a clue the sacrifice that we gave.
You know, yeah, it's still the sound is still not. James, while we're fixing that, could you tell us about your book?
Yeah, I have one book called The Moss Files, and that's my journey in the police department and policing in general, fighting racism and the lawsuits that I was involved in. And one lawsuit I think was tremendous. I filed an Open Records Act and went to the House Supreme Court, and that's why citizens can come and get police records and their records, and that case was used in all 50 states. So I won that case. And also it tells about, I wrote a lot of papers for the Boston Globe. I was in Stanford Law School. I gave lectures at the Law School at Franklin University. I was honored by different cities for my work and what I do. And it's a shame that I get more recognition from when I outside Columbus, Ohio, than when I was living there. So that's when I moved here in Georgia. The first person called me was Shirley Franklin, and she wanted me to serve on a citizen review board, but I told them I didn't live in Atlanta. I happen to live in Fayetteville. So people throughout the United States knew who I was. I was invited by the United States government to testify on the Hill, on C-SPAN. So there's a lot of things that people don't know how much work I put in fighting for justice as a Black police officer, speaking out. And it brought with it death threats, tapping my phone and harassing my family. A lot of people don't know what our family and myself went through.
I'm sorry that happened.
Amen.
When do you expect that book to come out? You know, and I want to be one of the
I
first
hope
ones.
so in sometime next year.
Okay, we're going to have you back on to talk about that.
Yes.
As well, definitely want you to come back on.
Amen.
We'll have you on. We're going to have you on several times, James, coming back. But Tonya, we had some technical difficulties. I want you to talk about Thank You for Your Service, your book that's coming up about Desert Storm. No, we can't hear you.
Going on. Let me try something. Give me 1 second. Let me try.
Okay. But while she's working on that, so what month did you think that you'll be having that book coming out, James?
Well, as soon as my daughter, my son work with me. That's all I know. Sometime in 2023, my daughter, Dr. Chandrika Moss Bodine, her and my son Jamar, they the one that really pushed me to do this book. And when you go down, and I go down a basement, sometimes I stay down there for hours. I didn't realize, for instance, I made the International Police Olympics for broad jump in the 400 meters representing United States Police Department. And I didn't go to Australia because at the time I was dealing with sarcoidosis, and my doctor said it wouldn't be, he didn't want me to fly to Australia because he said, I don't know if they could, if you have an attack, what would the outcome would be. And so I said, yes, I didn't go, but I qualified, and I forgot all about that article they put in the paper about me qualifying for the long jump in 400 meters. So like I said, that was one. And then I won the Jefferson Award. I was the only police officer ever to win the Jefferson Award for my involvement with the Police Athletic League. Starting with one football team, I ended up with 6 football teams. And they, all the kids on my precinct, they never called me Sergeant Moss or officer. They call me Coach Moss. Even when I go back to Columbus now, and these guys are in their 40s, they would say, come to me, how you doing, Coach Moss? And so you talk about community policing. Now I would go over their house, talk to their parents, and make sure they're getting good grades. And I mean, that was something I loved doing, and they have never forgotten me. When I go back, there's always people coming up to me, Coach Moss, you know. So that's a proud. And I had one person from Powell went on to play professional football for the New England Patriots. So you know, things like that. And then all the high schools in Columbus, they would say, "You came from Powell football," because I train them. I train them like a ranger.
You use that experience in the military.
They said,
yeah.
They said,
Wow.
they would know. They said, where you play? So you don't have to tell me you come from the Powell football program, because they was high school ready when they came to high school. The way we trained them, they was ready to play football.
They was ready. They was ready. You know, even though it may not look like Columbus recognizes you, but you know, we know that the things that you do every Martin Luther King Day, you host a breakfast absolutely free for the entire community. And if people don't say thank you, I want to say thank you. I mean, you know, that is so awesome that you do that. And you don't even live here, and you're still giving back to our community, still giving love in our community. So I just thank you for
This
doing
will
that,
be our 28th annual breakfast that we've
28 years.
28 years on January. 28 years we've been doing this.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Okay,
Well,
Sarah, can you hear me now?
yeah, we can hear you now. I want you to talk about your book before I close, because I can't wait till that comes out.
Yes, ma'am. So I like everyone here. So I wrote that book because I had a very serious illness. You know, Leonard talked about some serious things, and so did Mr. Moss. This year, I almost had a death experience. And so I needed to depend on the VA to help me, because that's the only benefit I have is the VA. And I'm still fighting the claim, been fighting it since I got out. They say they can't find it in my record, although it's in my record. But again, they say they don't see it. So the hospital turned me away, and they said, there's nothing we can do for you. If you live, you live. If you die, you die. And that was pretty hard to hear. And so in that, people would come in the room and sometimes not give me good care. And I even had to kind of get adamant with the VA that I want to live, and I want y'all to help me live. I want to get good care. And that's when I found out, somebody mentioned on the call, that you can go outside of the VA to get care, because they didn't have the resources within the VA to help me. So I learned that the hard way. But long story short, I'm here, and I'm very much alive and fighting for my rights and my benefits. And so when people would look at me, and then when they would say, oh, you're a veteran, then they would turn and say, oh, thank you for your service. But I was like, I got to the point from May to August that I hated to hear those words. I really do. I hate to hear someone say that to me that don't mean it. Now, when someone means it, you can tell, and I love it. But when you don't mean it, it would just tear me up inside. So the book is Thank You for Your Service, A Female Journey's Experience Through Desert Storm. And so I talk about all that I sacrificed, because people don't know what you sacrifice. And just a little bit the biggest thing that I sacrificed, I had to leave my 2 sons here to go to Desert Storm. How many mothers would leave their kids? 4 and 2 and go to war. When I came back, my youngest son, it took 2 weeks before he could talk to me. So I understand when they say we need a social worker. How do you handle that? My son, he didn't know why I left. He didn't know where I was. All he knew was he went to bed, and when he woke up, he didn't see his mom for months. And then she was, where she been? And so there's a lot that soldiers, that people have no clue about. So I'm a social worker and a nurse. So, you know, they can help. They can help us figure out how to transition back to civilian life.
And make it a lot easier for you, right?
Make a great civilian. But a
Mhm.
great.
I think if we really was serious about saying thank you for your service, we would be calling our congressman right now, elected officials, and
amen.
saying put more resources
Amen.
into the military. People that fought in Vietnam shouldn't have to wait 50 years to get their benefits. That is ridiculous. And we shouldn't even
Amen.
have a discussion on a homeless vet. But veterans
That's right.
should not be homeless. That should
Amen.
be in our vocabulary. They should
Amen.
automatically have a place to stay. I don't care what shape they're in, because they decided to they decided to go over there and fight for us while we may have been at home watching TV. We couldn't even watch TV if they weren't on that front line. So, you know, and corporations wouldn't be able to have their corporate business if they weren't on the front line, risking their lives and leaving their families to make sure that our country is safe and for all of us.
That's right. And great soldiers make great employees and great bosses and great humans.
Yes.
You know, Leonard said he went in one way, he came out totally different. And all of us did. You came out with character, dedication, responsibility.
And
Amen.
Yeah.
That's it.
Leonard, you wanted to say something?
I just want to remind people to, whatever way they have to, send that link, voice, word of mouth, whatever. We got to get the word out. Yolanda, I'm putting it on you to make sure some of these legislators, because you know you're a community giant around here, and I want to make sure some of these legislators get a copy of this interview, because there's been some things, you know, that we might have said something that'll help one. If we help one veteran, you know, that'll be worth it. You know, we just gotta get the word out.
I'll do my part, but I'm gonna make my telephone calls, you know, and tell them to, you know, we need to look at putting more resources in for our veterans. And
watch this show. They gotta watch this show.
As a homeless vet, we shouldn't even have homeless vets in our country.
Never,
you know, that should be a priority. We should, you know, take care of our veterans. Okay.
Amen.
All right. But you know, and let me get some comments from you out there listening, audience. You can also comment. If you don't think we need to, you can say that. But you know, I'd like to hear from you. And if you like this interview, you can push your like button and also subscribe, because we have some awesome programs coming up. We're going to be talking about credit power, you know, how you repair your credit. We also got something on prayer coming up. I got some grandmas that's coming up talking about some of the programs. They have some awesome programs going on for the youth that they put together for the youth. So that's coming up. And then we got some more issues coming up. So you got to stay tuned to Ask Yolanda in the know. I said in a row, in the know. You got to stay tuned, because we got some awesome programs coming up, and I will see you next week. Love you.
Amen to that.
Thank y'all for being on this week's program of Ask Yolanda Robinson.